how early could restrictions be brought in?
It could be as early as this afternoon, Tom. As you say, Victorian Cabinet is meeting right now to decide what restrictions they'll bring in to deal with this latest outbreak. The Herald Sun is reporting that Melbourne will be sent into a snap 5-day lockdown. This means schools will close, non-essential services will also close. There'll be no crowds at the Australian Open, and Melburnians will be advised to stay home. There will, of course, be a limit on gathering restrictions as well. Now, authorities are fearing that they have lost control of this outbreak at the Holiday Inn quarantine hotel. That cluster has grown to 13 infections. One person worked at the Brunetti Cafe inside Melbourne's airport. That person last worked on Tuesday, and the hours listed on the Health Department's website, there was more than 3,500 passengers that passed through Melbourne Airport at that time. So there could be thousands of close contacts. Authorities are, of course, working on the assumption that all 13 cases have the highly contagious UK variant. Here's the Prime Minister.
We've dealt with these before, got on top of them before. We've dealt with them the last few weeks in Sydney and Brisbane and Perth. And so a proportionate response by the Victorian Government, which I understand from what we've been hearing this morning, and the Health Minister has been in contact with his counterpart here in Melbourne, a proportionate response that enables those, the tracers and others, to be able to get on top of it and get the same successful result that we've seen in other states. That can and will be achieved here. I'm not going to speculate on what the Premier may or may not do. Okay, I'm going to let the Premier make his announcements and to weigh up the things that he has to weigh up, and making any decisions that they will make here in Victoria. I don't think it would be fair for me to be making comments in advance of what he may or may not announce. I think that's the right thing for public confidence.
So no doubt, Gabriella, Victorians are going to be frustrated and have questions. I mean, why is there still such a big CBD hotel quarantine program all these months or a year into the pandemic? What about the Victorian government's role with this nebuliser apparently kicking things off as well? You've been talking to voters about this lockdown possibility?
Certainly raises a lot of questions, Tom. Yes, I spoke to some people this morning. Not everyone here is from Melbourne. A lot of visitors are here for the Australian Open, and of course this snap lockdown would have huge ramifications for the tennis. Some people I spoke to hadn't heard the news and they didn't think that we would be going into a lockdown, certainly not as early as tonight, and they believe that the government had control of this outbreak. It certainly doesn't seem to be the case at the moment. Others believe that it was fine to go into a lockdown as they have to follow the health advice, and of course some are terrified to go back into lockdown again. Will you be upset if we go into lockdown?
Yeah, because I don't think it's necessary.
And how do you think the government's handled this?
I don't agree with what they've done.
How do you think the government's handled this?
Poorly. Very poorly. Lockdown's not the answer.
I think they've got it under control, so I'm quite confident in what they're doing.
I'm comfortable with the decision as long as it's based on the best advice.
I'm actually not from here, so I'm hoping the borders don't close because I will have to get home.
Have you been here for the tennis?
Yes, I have, yes, and staying hopefully for another week.
We're from Queensland, so I hope not.
When do you go back to Queensland?
Monday, but who knows, maybe tomorrow, maybe tonight.
Victorians know lockdown all too well. We endured 112 days of it last year, so there's no doubt that Victorians are anxiously waiting for Premier Daniel Andrews' announcement when he makes it at some stage this afternoon, Tom.
We'll keep across these things, reports emanating outside of that cabinet that it could well be that 5-day lockdown announced, and it could begin later on today. So we will see, and we'll keep you abreast of anything we do find out. Gabriella, thank you.